state law that ensures our auditing division and LSO can audit a nonprofit corporation. That's concerning. We can argue about whether the state of Idaho or the University of Idaho has the authority to create a nonprofit or not. I'm sure that the court will take that issue up. I could give you my opinion, but it would just simply be my opinion on that particular issue. One of the interesting things that came up is this really in the vision and mission of the University of Idaho? The University of Idaho is unique from other universities. It is our land grant institution. It's a bricks and mortar institution. It has buildings in 42 of 44 counties in the state of Idaho. When that institution was put in place, it was intended to be land grant institution, bricks and mortars. About 10,000 students go to the University of Idaho. If they acquire the University of Phoenix, there will be 74,000 students that attend the University of Phoenix. And that's a lot of cash that's going to come into the University of Idaho. So who's going to get all the attention? The University of Idaho students, our students locally, tax-paying students, or students from out of state? The University of Phoenix doesn't have a good reputation. Been sued by the Department of Justice for $78 million. Been sued by the Federal Trade Commission for $191 million. Representative Young asked on Friday, we were told by the President Green, that there was just no mechanism to talk to the legislature. Well, I have a cell phone and I have a laptop. If you want to get a hold of me, you can call my cell phone or you can shoot me an email. This piece of legislation will provide a mechanism for the University of Idaho to talk to the legislature. But Representative Young asked on Friday, they said, we'll give you whatever you want. Anything you want, we'll give it to you. She asked for contract. She asked for financials. She asked for due diligence documents. I called her. I said, Representative Young, have you got that information? Nope. That's the problem. We have never been dealt into this. It is a $585 million asset buy, and an asset buy means that we also get the liabilities. The exposure to the state of Idaho is significant. So, Mr. Speaker, debate is open on HCR 26.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Leave 34.
Will the gentleman yield to a question?
Gentleman yield to a question.
Gentleman will do his best.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. In the very last therefore clause, it speaks to providing the Speaker pro tem, or the Speaker and the President pro tem with the authority to pursue a lawsuit. To the best of your knowledge, when was the last time the legislature directed those two individuals to pursue such action in the name of the legislature?
Gentleman 13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and good lady. I think that we have an issue before the United States Supreme Court that will be decided in March, that the pro tem and the Speaker of the House, I probably need to ask Mr. Speaker unanimous consent to refer to other legislation.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing that, good gentlemen, may refer to other legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the body. I am referring to the abortion legislation that will be before the United States Supreme Court that the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate have engaged in.
Leave 34.
Mr. Speaker, to debate the bill.
The lady has the floor to debate the bill.
I don't ask this body to have an opinion one way or the other on this particular issue. There are questions that I have raised with the members of the university, and there are concerns that I have. But in and of itself, for me, this particular resolution comes down to the question of, do we want to be a body that authorizes legal action being taken in our name without understanding the ramifications of what that legal action will look like? This resolution isn't asking us to engage on a particular point of law or even a particular question to be raised within the courts. It's just simply saying we want to authorize action within the court system itself. The vagueness of that language sets a precedent for this body going forward. And so while I don't disagree with the concerns that have been raised, I do question whether or not as a body we go down this path. Do we embrace this idea that instead of pursuing policy changes, we default to the courts? We are a body capable of action. We are a body capable of putting forward new policy. And yet here we are arguing that the next course of action for this body should be pursuing a court case. I think we have demonstrated that we are more than fully capable of putting together legislation and policy for the purposes of directing where we want the state to go. I do not think our default position right from the jump on this particular issue, as we state our position on this particular issue, should be to default to go to the courts. And for that, I will not be supporting the resolution.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 3.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I should clear a couple of things up. One of the things that was mentioned in the committee hearing was that this deal was final, was signed and final. So I asked the Attorney General about our options, which of course he didn't want to specify, but he thought it was a good question when I asked, will the legislature have to go to the judiciary to get any kind of a writ to stop the action, slow it down? This is something, of course, for the attorneys. But the one thing that is necessary, ladies and gentlemen, is that if this thing is a final deal and we have no say on that, and we have the ramifications addressed by the good sponsor, we should at least give the light-footedness option of allowing leadership to make the determination as to whether it's necessary for us to step in and slow this process down. So just understand that it's not like we can call ourselves back to a special session and make a determination as to whether we should intercede. This deal was signed and finalized according to their own words. And if we're going to stop this, or at least slow it down so that we can get our questions answered, a court resulting to the judiciary may be necessary.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 14.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the good gentleman from 13 yield to the question?
Gentleman 13 yields question.
Mr. Speaker, I will yield, but I am also cognizant of the fact that I'm standing between this body and lunch, and that's a dangerous thing to do.
Gentleman 14 should remember that too. Good gentleman 14.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll try to go as quick as I can then. Would this stop them from pulling away from that deal and coming to this body and asking for approval?
Gentleman 13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentleman from 14. No, I think that they could do that if they chose to do that. As in any negotiation, if you would like to, one party can cease it. They did talk about the fact that it would cost them probably $12 million to do so. But it's my understanding they could get out of it if they would like to get out of it. But I didn't detect any desire for the University of Idaho to get out of this deal.
Debate in favor.
Gentleman has the floor to debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I've looked into this since I've heard this has come out, and mostly from the credit side, because we are adding debt, adding liability to the state at this point in time, whether we like it or not, whether it is a separate entity that we can't actually get to, whether it's a separate entity that we can't actually audit, it comes onto our financial records. And so if something does happen with this, which is something that we didn't have a say over, we didn't have control over, we don't have the ability to audit, it can affect our credit rating. And that, to me, is something that can drastically affect us down the roads for legislators to come, probably for generations. And I don't think that's something that this body should take on and allow an entity from the state that is created from the state to actually do. So with that, I would recommend your green light.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Good gentleman from 10.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to refer to other lawsuits.
Unanimous consent has been requested to refer to other lawsuits. Is there objection? Hearing none, good gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, good body, thank you. We have, as a legislature, retained our own attorneys 15 times in different lawsuits to protect our bills that we pass here. We've won 14 out of 15 of those times. I see this, regardless of whether you think this is a good deal or a bad deal for Idaho, as an opportunity, a needed opportunity for the pro tem and the speaker to step in and defend what we want to be done here to protect our interests, and the bill's very clear. Agents of the legislature in taking actions necessary to protect the legislative power and the people of Idaho in this matter. So I'd ask for the green light.
Thank you, gentlemen. Lady from 11.
To debate the bill.
Lady has the floor.
I won't reiterate the points of the good lady from 34, but I do think that we can still pass policy if we allow things to go forward. And I just have a real problem with using taxpayer money to enter into so much. I understand what you're saying about wanting to support what we've done, but taxpayer money then being spent on both sides of the equation, I don't think that is the way to solve the issue that we have before us. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the motion. Good gentleman from 17.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
This resolution is about process, and it is about the issue of whether the state of Idaho should become responsible for a private company that has 80,000 students in 50 states and 60 foreign countries. It is about, should the state of Idaho become responsible for a private for-profit company that has baggage. The state board should have a full public hearing, full public discussion, and thoroughly evaluate this along with input from alumni, students, faculty, everyone involved, and especially the people of Idaho, because that's what the University of Idaho is for. It is to serve the people of Idaho, not the people in 50 states and 60 foreign countries. But maybe it is. Maybe this is such a great deal that we should do it. But why have we not had a public process on this, except when we demand appearances at 2 legislative hearings? Why don't we have a public vote like we had on HP? Many of us remember what happened when we bought the HP campus. We had a public vote. The speaker opposed that, but he had his day in court. He had his day before we had a big argument. We had a big debate, and we passed it, and I voted for it. I was a little hesitant at the beginning, but we had a public process. We don't have that here. Now, somebody says, well, at the end, it says you can file a lawsuit, the speaker and the pro tem could. But what I'm saying is this. We need that rehearing. We need a reconsideration with everybody involved, and maybe a vote, yes or no, up and down in this legislature. And you can't just passing a resolution with no teeth. You want to take the teeth out of it. You want to say, oh, well, hey, if they don't do anything with the rest of this resolution, with the first, and I don't know how many words there are, but with the first, with all the first part of the resolution, you don't want to do anything with that. Hey, so what? Nothing's going to happen. There's no hammer. There's nothing. So nothing will happen. It'll just go forward. And so I think that if there was at least from my perspective, if there was the process that should have happened in the first place and should be fully disclosed to everybody, fully put on the table, if there was that, then hey, I think we made the progress we need to make. But that ain't happening.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Good lady from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill.
Lady has the floor to debate the bill.
All right. I appreciate the discussion, and I do agree with the good gentleman from District 17. It is about process, a process that is not in place. So the process that the University of Idaho followed is the process by which they have. They went to their state board, the State Board of Education, who are the trustees for the University of Idaho. They have done that for forever. That is the process that we have. If we want to change the process, then we need to change the process, but we should not change the process in the middle of the stream. Whether it's an opportunity to set up a foundation, which all of our universities and colleges have, which are nonprofit organizations, whether it is another type of organization, and we can look through probably many of our agencies and find them. But let's talk about the benefits. When university presidents go to JFAC and ask
for funding. What have they been told over the last several years but to think outside the box? They are not going to get all the funding that they're asking. The University of Idaho thinks outside the box, and now you want to cut their legs off because they followed the process that the law provides. And that, in my opinion, folks, is an opportunity for this legislature and the state of Idaho to be sued by the University of Idaho for us meddling in their business, for us putting our hand on top of the brake and pushing it where a process is not in place. And again, I will reiterate, they followed the process by which they have under the Idaho law. And if we want to make a difference and change that for future, because we don't like that they didn't come to us, well, they didn't come to us for a lot of the decisions. Boise State doesn't come to the legislature and ask us to get in the middle of their decisions when they're making business policy. The State Board of Education is the agency, is the body that is responsible for that, not the legislature. If we want the process to change, that is our prerogative. That is what that is what we as a body should do. So back to some of the positives. Again, we all know what is coming. The universities have been talking about an enrollment cliff, that they're going to lose students. And that is true. We can look at the data and show that people are not having as many children. It's starting to affect. It's a snowball effect. So there will be an enrollment cliff. That this will help greatly. This will help the entire state of Idaho, not just the university. Other universities, other colleges will be able to use this platform. We are asking that we need to create in-demand jobs. This is an opportunity for our rural students and students all across Idaho to jump on and to be able to work on a degree that is an online degree on one of the platforms that we have been told over and over is bar none the best that there is. This provides pathways for our traditional students that might need one more class. This opportunity for our students is great. So again, folks, the process is in place. They followed the process. I, as a legislator, they are in my district. I, as a legislator, the minute I found out about it, contacted the president's office and got information. So I did that because I wanted to understand what was happening. I was getting phone calls from other constituents and other alumni saying, what are we doing? So I wanted to find out from the horse's mouth. I went to them and asked. Every one of you had that opportunity. That wasn't denied. But the process doesn't say they have to come to the Idaho legislature and ask for permission. So folks, if we're going to change the process midstream, we need to realize that we are subjecting ourselves to a huge lawsuit. This could be hundreds of millions of dollars over time. And when JFAC says think outside the box, I believe the University of Idaho is thinking outside the box. And for that reason, I will be a green light, and I urge you to consider that and also push your green light. Thank you.
I'm a graduate of the University of Phoenix in the 90s, and then I went to class in the down in Salt Lake City 4 hours a week. And then it was about 20 hours, read about 250 pages a week, and I did that for over 3 years. Prior to that, I always wanted to go to college, and I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there was just no way I could do that. And so the University of Phoenix offered that. They were a great program, and it was great for me as a working adult. And the University of Phoenix was really, really a top-notch as far as I'm concerned, what I learned. I had professors from BYU and the University of Utah. And so what they're doing is offering people like myself, especially like that lady said, Miss McCann, that it's a good thing and don't mess around with it. I mean, if it flops, it flops. But on the other hand, that's their business. But I will say this, as a graduate of the University of Phoenix, along with thousands and thousands of others that couldn't get it done because I just couldn't go to a class, I tried it. I spent more time traveling after work than for that hour class, and I couldn't do it. But and this was an ISU. I couldn't complete it because I was on call 24/7. But the University of Phoenix had that program, and it was wonderful. And by the way, I did quite well, and I can say I learned a lot, and it opened up a lot of doors for me, especially when I left IBM after 32 years and went into the financial services business, and did very well. $1 Million Roundtable, lots of recognition because I had that door open for me when it came to having a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and so it's a good thing, and they shouldn't be screwing around with this.
And get to the core of this issue, which is authority. And then it says, if we can't get that done, since we are headed out of here, hopefully in just a couple of weeks, we authorize our good speaker and the pro tem to act on our behalf to protect the lawful authority of the legislature in the interim. If we cannot do that, ladies and gentlemen, nothing else we do here matters, because the laws we write mean nothing. And so with that, I would urge your green light.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the motion. Hearing none with the good gentleman, 24.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know to
Would the
pose
good
this
gentleman like to debate the bill?
well, off and on. I'm kind of mixed about it, really.
Good gentleman,
I
has the
guess
floor to
so.
debate the bill.
Thank
We're
you.
still waiting for our milkshakes, by the way. Go
The
ahead.
good gentleman from 13, I'm kind of asking a question. I don't know how to do this. It's my understanding, good gentleman, that the point of this was to further explore the legality, the constitutionality, and the potential liability of what is occurring now. And with some of the statements made, there's a assumption or presumption that this also authorizes legal action. And could you help clarify that for me?
Would the good,
Let me further.
good gentleman, 24, I think we're kind of lost here. Are you asking a question of the good gentleman from 13?
I believe I am.
Okay, the good gentleman 13, I believe he's asking a question also. Would the good gentleman 13 yield?
The gentleman yields.
Gentleman
Again,
yields with-
remiss of the fact that we've been 20 minutes here since I let you know I'm standing between you and lunch. And I think everybody knows how they're going to vote on this issue.
Good gentleman, I think
Yeah,
you're correct.
you
But
bet,
good gentleman
Crane.
24, if you would like to ask your question.
You've been there
Good
too
gentleman
long.
yields.
20, what is it, 16 years?
My understanding, good gentleman, is that the original intent of this was to determine the legality, the constitutionality, and the potential liability of the transaction. And now we're talking about or inferring legal action. I'm totally in favor of exploring the constitutionality. I'm not so wild about the legal action. Can you help me understand just what this would do?
Well, let's look.
Good
Thank
gentleman,
you.
13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentleman from, we used to be
24.
26, now it's 24. Okay. Good gentleman from 24. If you go to page 3,
Okay,
beginning
here it
on
comes.
line 3, the legislature respectfully requests the State Board of Education, its capacity, and the Board of Regents and the University of Idaho to reconsider its decision. We drop down to line 9. Well, again, we asked them to reconsider their actions that would affiliate the University of Idaho in any way with the University of Phoenix. We finally make a third appeal. We respectfully request on line 12, 13, and 14 that they would reconsider that decision. We make 3 appeals in here that they would respectfully engage with the legislature.
Crane, you've been in there for
Respectfully
16
reconsider
years.
their decision.
And you're-
However,
You're
if they choose
think
not
you
to,
own that
there is a
legislature.
provision built in lines 16 through 20 that legal action could be
this
taken.
long, that's what's happened with this term limit appeal back in 2002.
Gentleman 24. Thank you, gentlemen. Is further debate on the motion? Hearing none? Good lady from 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be quick here.
Good lady, would you like to debate the bill?
To debate in favor of the bill.
Good lady has the floor to debate in favor of the concurrent resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many
Oh,
of you may
Ms.
know
Horman.
that JFAC held an oversight hearing on this last June.
And you've been in there a
regarding,
long time.
Fiscal risks to the state and our people.
And you and Labrador worked
Until
together,
last
didn't you?
week, I had never really heard from the University of Idaho that they were interested in our opinion on this. In fact, the deal seems structured to intentionally exclude the legislature at the same time, as has already been indicated, putting tremendous debt on the state's books.
Oh, come on.
According to the University of Idaho, a contract's been signed.
Good.
So we can't pass legislation to impair the execution of that contract.
That's a good
The only
thing.
way we can potentially get a seat at the table, unless they want to talk about restructuring, is in the courts.
Well, now you're going to sue him, huh,
And
through
using
Labrador.
taxpayer funds to protect taxpayers from a tremendous
The online
potential
is
risk
different than a university
is
budget,
in their
lady.
best interest, in my opinion.
It's self-supporting because those people
Any
pay.
Idaho student can enroll in University
Around the
of Phoenix
world.
right now. We don't have to own it for that to happen. The state has invested millions.
I've taken online courses at
building
IBM
online
since the
infrastructure already.
1960s.
And thousands of our students
It's just
are
what we did in
utilizing it
business.
for online coursework.
This is baloney what she's saying. And I can say it. Now I'm happy to
And if
say
they
it.
wanted to debate on the legal merits, they could have.
She needed to stay out of, the
Instead, they went
legislator
after
needs to
our
stay
choice
out
of
of that
lawyer.
particular part of
That speaks
the
volumes
university's
to me
business. That's a separate,
about their position.
separate organization, separate entity. It's software that's
giant red
developed.
flag.
In fact, IBM
Mr.
probably
Speaker, I
gave them
urge your
the
support
help.
of this in the interest of protecting and finding out
Oh, yeah, protecting.
the risk
Yeah, what's
to
in it for
Idaho
you, lady?
taxpayers that appears to be there. I urge your support of this resolution.
I'm
Thank
sure you
Mr.
would. You
Speaker.
did originally.
Thank you,
You
ladies.
got
Further debate
Labrador
on the motion.
involved.
Hearing none, good gentleman, debate from 33.
Mr. Speaker, debate in favor of the motion.
Oh, yeah,
He has
you
the floor
would.
to debate the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I'll be very, very quick. I think it's important to say this as this is being considered for a vote. First, I'd like to commend the good chairman and the good committee for taking this up. They did what many of our committees probably should be doing. If we don't, if agencies,
How's everything down at the gym
we're
there,
not
Barbara?
the ones holding them accountable, asking the questions, who's going to do it? And I think the good lady that just spoke addressed the fact that we owe this to our taxpayers. Right, wrong, or indifferent, this was such an important hearing that even in the middle of my morning committee, I ran a cord up my shirt and into my ear to try to listen to what was happening. And I will say this, I was very disappointed in listening to the questions being asked and the answers that were not being given. It was incredibly evasive. And
Yeah,
very disappointed
you
in
ask
that.
questions
I
you
would
already know
hope
the answers
that
for?
What we would do is support
Not
this
supposed to do that. And,
resolution
that's what
before us,
attorneys do.
And let
You
us
always
take
ask
our
questions
legislative
in the
stand
court that they know the
in
answers
saying
to.
that you do have to report to
They
this
shouldn't
legislative
ask questions
body
that they don't know the
because
answer to.
we do play a key role
There's too many
in what happens
lawyers
in
in the
state. Thank you.
legislature.
Thank you, ladies. Further debate on the motion.
I can do
Hearing none,
this.
gentleman,
This
13,
is
carry close
terrible.
debate, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the great debate. Good lady from District 34. I understand your concern about litigation. However, an issue that's near and dear to your heart, water. We have engaged on it before, and I'm sure if there was an impasse on that issue, you'd want to have the ability to deal with it in court or sage grouse issue. Good lady from District 6.
Now see that he's
I would
changing
ask,
the
did they give you the
narrative,
contract?
reminding them.
Did they give you the due diligence documents? Did they give you any of that pertinent information that we have been asking for and that we as the committee were promised last Friday that we would receive and still haven't gotten? Process matters. Yeah, it does. Why did they create a nonprofit instead of corporate body politic? A nonprofit is not subject to any public meeting laws. It's not subject to any audits.
Yeah, just
You
like
can
the
change your board of
105 in
directors, you can
Pocatello.
change your mission. But a corporate body politic, which they could have created,
And the 15.
we are now responsible for it. We have the oversight. The health insurance exchange, that's exactly what when they created that, that's what they created, corporate body politics, so we would have control over it. They would have to answer to us.
Answer to you, sir, that's been in there for
Former
16
state
years.
treasurer
And Moyle's been
was
in there
filling in for the
26,
good gentleman from 12, and he asked
Chuck
legal
Linder's
counsel
been
from
in
the
there
University
for,
of Idaho
17 years?
the
16
issue
years,
with regards to
18
debt,
years?
because that treasurer went on 20 trips
Guthrie's been
dealing
in
with
21 years in
the
politics.
state's bond rating. Legal counsel for the University of Idaho did their best to say,
$13
I don't
billion.
know, but in the end had to admit
$13 billion
If the
is
University
what
of
this
Idaho
guy
defaults on those
decides
bonds,
every year. Who's taxed,
the
who's not
state of Idaho is
taxed,
going to be on the hook for
and
it
where the money goes.
because of sovereign immunity. This is a big deal.
Yeah, it's
You
a big
are
deal that you
asking
stay
the
out
state
of
of
it.
Idaho to
Crane.
guarantee the debt from the University of Idaho. A big red flag, Mr. Speaker. I've done quite a few acquisitions, not on this magnitude,
Uh-huh.
but I left after Thursday's meeting and I said to an individual, I said, there is a major red flag in this.
Uh-huh. You're a red flag. You're
President
not making
Green
any
told
money
us, he
off
said
of it.
that the
That's
seller
why.
wants to move quickly on this issue.
Right.
Anytime a seller wants to sell quickly, that is not a good thing.
Oh, come on.
And you better make sure you slow down and do your due diligence. Another
They've already-
university
don't you
had the
think that
opportunity to buy the University of
Idaho
Phoenix,
trustees have reviewed
and they chose
this
not to.
better than you,
So,
sir.
ladies and gentlemen, I think that we
I
need
don't
to
think
assert
you
our
know
authority
anything
as the
about
legislative
education.
body. We need to make sure that state agencies, and including
just
our
want
universities, are
control
not
of
going
that
out and forming
university.
nonprofits where they can
And
do
they're
whatever they
doing a good
want
thing for the
without
state of
legislative
Idaho,
oversight,
because-
especially when
and
they're
they'll
asking
probably
us
make money as
to
a
back
result.
up their debt. With that, I would ask for your green light.
Thank you, gentlemen. Debate is closed. Question is, shall House concur Resolution 26 pass the
That's
House?
my
Since it
feelings, because I'm a
has the
graduate of the
possibility
University
money, there will be a roll
University
call
of
vote.
Phoenix, and it was a great
Clerk will
program
lock
for
the
me
machine.
as a working adult, being able to do online
Clerk will lock the
courses.
machine, members will cast their votes.
Well, I didn't do any online courses. That was before online. But imagine somebody out in the
Good lady,
out
you
in
can,
Grace
but I make
or
the decision, and it does have the possibility of
McCammon.
expending money, and so there'll be a roll call vote.
and would
You
have
are doing a roll
to
call. Thank you.
could take a course at home, a legitimate course, because you had to meet with professors and you had to go through a strict
Has every member
program.
voted?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Totter. Does any members change their vote? The clerk will lock machine and report the pairs.
Monks votes aye. Rubel votes nay.
49 ayes, 21 nays. The majority haven't voted in favor of House Concurrent Resolution number 26. House Concurrent Resolution 26 has passed the House.
Hang in there,
Good lady. Good
University
lady.
of Idaho.